I have been really enjoying Foundry, so I thought, you know what, let's go for it. Let's start a Let's Play whilst we wait for Satisfactory 1.0. So today we are starting a whole new world. It's going to be the Mega Factory, and we're going to use the seed that we started with our live streams recently over on twitch.tv/Totalxclipse. So it's 613649111, and we're not going to do it in creative mode because we want to build a mega factory. And here we are on the moon's surface. Now, the whole point of this series is basically, whilst we wait for 1.0 to be released, I thought, why not see how far we can push Foundry? And so the plan is to do a mega factory and just see how optimized the game is for that, and show you all the tips and tricks along the way. But first of all, I need to get through the tutorial, so we're going to jump through that really quickly, and then we'll get started on building the first factory. I'm just getting the miners on the go for the time being, but once we've got through it all, I'll be able to hopefully redo all of this, because the tutorial doesn't really incentivize us planning ahead, which is what you really need to do in this game, given that the resource nodes, at least in the early game, run out after a good few hours of playing, and we're going to be needing a lot of resources. By the way, if it is your first time checking out Foundry, it's a fantastic new first-person automation game, very similar to Factorio, blended with Minecraft. So very different to Satisfactory, I would argue. If you're interested in knowing more about this, do check out my recent video on my first impressions of Foundry. But I'm hoping to share everything with you in this Let's Play, along with plenty of tips and tricks to really get the ball going in your factory. When I'm planting these or building these drone miners, I do like to dig down into the ground. I just find it looks so much cleaner. But I'm getting the basics running for both the technium and the... is it ignium? No, it's the xenoferrite, or goodness me, I wish they'd just call a kettle, you know? Call this copper, call that one iron. It's so confusing. Regardless, we're going to get this up and running, producing a little bit, when we're going to do the same over there. And then once we've got some plates and rods being produced, we'll scale all of this up and start building the factory. Another cool thing, if you dig all of those pieces out like I've done, you can actually use these for your base later on if you're wanting to place everything on a higher level. We've just built the emergency beacons. Okay, and we'll turn this on. There we go. Boom, fantastic. Saves me some work. And we'll just place that here for now. And now we have this cute guy. At the moment, we have two little factory areas. We have the technum ore here, and we have the xenoferrite ore here. Now that we're producing xenoferrite plates and the rods, we can start automating the base foundations, which is actually really important because you don't want to be building your factory right on a node, because as the node depletes, you're then going to find that you have to bring more resources into that area, and if you've sprawled out, it makes it very difficult to bring the resources over. So my first plan is going to be to remove this area of foliage and rocks, and then build foundations over it, flowing all the way in that direction. From here, we're going to just bring the resources onto that area, and then we're going to start doing our smelting. This is really going to help with scaling up your factory and maintaining productivity versus building on the nodes. Don't do this, it's not satisfactory, plays totally different. That's better. So we now have 4 of each of the smelters producing the resources, which means we should now be able to start automating the foundations. That's going to be useful. I also want to automate the conveyors, but we do need to do some more research, really, to automate the the items, we do need a second spaced loader. But I am hoping from this angle, you can see how this is useful. We're bringing the resources from the nodes to the factory. And then from here, we're going to smelt it and then move it along to the right so that we can use it in our production. This means that any other resources that we eventually add to this, other xenoferrite ore or technium from this side of the map, we can just run it all the way across to here, so it should allow us to easily scale. Also, speaking of the smelters, I think if I remember rightly, it mentions we can run 8 smelters per single conveyor line. So we're going to double these up as well. Before I get started on the production lines, I just wanted to show you the basic infrastructure that we're researching. This unlocks, first and foremost, the ore scanner, which allows us to find ignium, and from there we can use the burner generator. This allows us to automate our power from the get-go. But the other thing that we wanted is the loader second lane. That's going to allow us to build manifolds and really get our production on the go. We're going to just run the resources through here. So that's going to be the output, and we are going to produce the foundations. Let's just copy that and paste it there. With a second loader lane, it's going to be much easier because we can just run 2 lines along one side. But for now, we need to split the resources. Oh, speaking of which, we don't have a way to split the resources at the moment. So we will run this through here, and this allows us to run our xenoferrite plates along here. So if we run the first line round here, then down to there. Not the most efficient setup possible, but that should mean that we will now be producing the blocks. Nice. We have unlocked the ore, the ignium ore, and more importantly, we're now able to automate our power. Oh, we're gonna have to dig for this. Hopefully it doesn't look that deep. Ah, here we go. This is it. So this will allow us to automate our power. I'm thinking probably for now, just because I've got no biomass and I don't really want to be getting more, what I'm going to do is just build, if we can. What do we need? Oh, we've got technum rods back at the base. I'm just going to grab, 20 of these, and hopefully that'll be enough to... I really wish we could jump too high. But if we head back, we can just get this basic burner running, and then we'll connect the power afterwards. Oh, fun fact. If you right-click your resource in your inventory, you don't need to put it in your hotbar. You can just get it running and build it from your inventory, which is so cool. We actually won't have these here permanently. I'm going to move them once we've started harvesting our resources, because I really want this all for the smelting and production for the time being. I have been working away here trying to get this nice and clean, and what we're going to do here is just add 2 of our miners. When you're merging belts, though you can merge directly onto another belt. So for example, if you had one belt going this way and then another one going this way, this belt would merge onto this one. But it can cause some breaks within the line. So it's best, where possible, to either use balancers or connect them to the end of a line. So that's what we've done there. I'm also going to now send the resources up here. And here we are. We now have the 2 generators running. So that's going to make life easier for me. And I'm just expanding this out. Next, I do need to get onto production though, because we need science packs being automated. I think we're also close to doing the red science packs. So that is the next plan of action. Perfect. If you're wondering why I was obsessed about unlocking the second space loader, well, you see this setup here, it's taking up quite a bit of room and it makes it very difficult to scale with multiple assemblers. So what I'm going to do is, using the second lane loaders, we're going to set up a manifold of 2, the same system as this, and just compare that really quickly. As you can see here, it's the same setup. We've just got the plates and the rods going into the assemblers, but it's much more compact. So I'm going to tear down both of these and rebuild this further along and get started with all the other production lines. For now, what's important for us is the building blocks are automated, the conveyor Mark 1, ooh, didn't mean to press that. Possibly the loaders as well would be good to have, as well as the assemblers, probably smelters as well. And then once we're done with that, we will go through setting up an efficient science packed line. I think that should be enough to really get us started. Maybe drone miners as well. Okay, this is just the start, but you can see we are now producing those foundation pieces. So we've now got started on our conveyors and the conveyor balancers, and I believe the conveyor ramps as well. More importantly, all of this is also being sent to a little temporary storage area here. This is just holding the items so that we know what we're needing to run those lines. This isn't a huge factory, it is just the start, but what we're going to do now is hopefully double up the outputs for the smelting, and from there we're going to look at doing the blue and the red research. You can see we've doubled up this line here, so we have one full belt of xenoferrite, is it called? And then we have a second one over here. That just allows us to split the resources off because we're a bit overwhelmed at the moment with resources. So the next thing that I'm going to do is start working in this section here. We're just laying the blue science lines, and you can see we've got our machine parts here and the Technum rods, so everything should run quite nicely. There we go. So that is the first. The next thing that we need to do is grab all of these, and I'll place them here, and then we'll run that blue science around to them. I had planned on turning this into the red research, taking some of the foundation pieces from down here, but unfortunately you can see we're not getting that many resources. It's only just reaching the end of the line, and so either I have to rework all the logistics, which I don't really want to do, or we can unlock conveyors Mark II. So that's what I've decided to do. I'm going to handcraft. You can see I've already got started. And then we're going to just feed these here for the time being. And then once we've got conveyor Mark II unlocked, I will hopefully be able to rework everything and get some red science on the go. I did end up taking the foundations from the storage, or at least a half of them, so we split them off. But you can see we've got 2 assemblers here working on producing our red research. I really recommend anyone who's starting off to really push for this before you build your starting factory, because after here we have ore refinement, and this is going to be really useful. In fact, I'm going to unlock that, and we'll talk about that next. I did say we'd talk about ore refinement next, so here we go, 1 more %, and make sure, there we go, we've got a crusher as well. So what I'm going to do is just, for this demonstration, I'll place it here. Now what's great about this is if we take our inserter here, I'm going to set this to xenoferrite ore, and what this does is it removes the impurity, which is the rubble. So let's just run this around. Oh yeah, and we've upgraded to tier 2 belts. And then from here, we'll take a few of these and deposit it. And then we'll take the 15 here and compare the recipes. So the rubble uses 20 xenoferrite ore per minute and produces 20 xenoferrite plates per minute. However, with the purified one takes 20 xenoferrite ore, and in place we get 30 xenoferrite plates. So that's an increase in of 50%. Is that right? Yeah, 50% increase in efficiency. So what we want to do, if I jump to our overhead view, is instead of bringing the ore straight into the smelters, what we're going to do is set up a refining line either side, so where the Technum ore is and also where our current grinder, is it a grinder? I think it is. Where those are. And so those are going to refine the ore, and then we're going to run it to our 2 lines of smelters, except I'm going to rework them as well. In fact, I'm going to rework all of this now just really quickly because it's going to take us a lot of time. But I will show you once it's finished. So I'm going to jump down and do that, and then all of our ores will hopefully come from this section here, run into our refinement area, and then from there move on to the smelters. And that way our ore nodes, both of these, are going to last longer because we're improving the efficiency of our refinement rate. So I've done enough for 4 of the xenoferrite and also 4 Mark II lines of the Technum ore as well. And what I've done with this one is just lead it straight into the smelting line, and I'm thinking we can repeat this on both sides. And I've also torn down the xenoferrite smeltery as well, so the hope is that we can have it just follow on this line. But that does mean that I'm going to have to get rid of all of this foliage. Thankfully, we've also unlocked explosives, so it's going to be hopefully quite fun. We get to chuck these around, and then if we do that, causes a nice little hole. This is actually going to be really good for doing like tunnels underground. But for now, we're just going to clear out all of this area. I think we need to be a little bit closer. We don't want to destroy our own stuff though. Like that. Typical. So a little bit further across from it. I'll clear this up, and then hopefully I'll be able to blow all of this up. And here we go. Well, I'm still going to have to do a bit of drilling. We can fill all of this in and get started on that smeltery. Now, I do stress, I know this is quite big for a starter factory, or I think it's quite big, but I have to stress how important the smelting section is, because all of our ore nodes, at least until we unlock fracking, are finite. And so we've got to have a scalable solution. And by building it like this, we can ensure that all of our resources come from one end and then flow down through the factory. And we won't have to rebuild this again, hopefully. But that is why we're spending so much time on this. And then the rest of the factory is not going to be as important. But I think the vast majority of people who come into this game thinking that it plays like Satisfactory, which it doesn't play anything like Satisfactory, are probably going to start building and trying to do efficient little factories around the nodes. That's not going to work for this. You need a scaling solution, which is why you need this in your perfect starter factory. Okay, so we have the refinery section here ready. What I've done is I've prepared 4 lines, and we'll only be using 2 for this factory initially. So we have those 2 and then the 2 over here for these 2 for the Technum ore. The rest will stay dormant until we have the resources being sent through, and then we have the smelters all in line. You know what? I haven't done the maths on this. I know that it's 20 to 30, and I've calculated for the output line, so it might be that we have some resources spare. I'm going to remove all these and then replace the sections. We're only going to produce the base resources. I will probably not do it efficiently because I haven't got that many resources left. We have a couple of hundred of these, a few smelters which we don't actually need now, a handful of these red assemblers, that's about it. We are starting to run dry. So I'm gonna focus on getting them up and running, and then I'll show you the finished starter factory. Okay, we are almost there. We've got the sciences done. We've also set up the conveyor stuff. So we have tier 2 conveyors, the Mark 1s, and then the inserters as well. And then it occurred to me that all of the buildables are built with the same items. And that makes our life so much easier. Oh, and if you're wondering why it looks quite clean, it's because I'm sending all of the resources down and under to head to the storage. But if we go over here, you'll notice, if we look at these items, they all start off with the same kind of base components, and then they gradually get more difficult. You have xenoferrite plates and the machinery parts. And then down here we have the xenoferrite plates, the machinery parts, and the electronic components. You have down here the miner, the assembler, the smelter, the crusher, the storage. All of them require xenoferrite plates, machinery parts, and electronic components, which I found really interesting. Yes, it's different amounts, but it does make also our life so much easier, because we could potentially run the lines across, produce the items, and then bring them up. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we actually built inside the mountain at some point? So I'm going to trial that here. I might have to rejig some of these around, but I've got a feeling we can make this work by just sending everything along and then to the left. I've done it, and I'm surprised, but it's working really well. So you can see we've now got a steady supply of all the items slowly going to the storage back there. So I'm really happy with this. We've got the assemblers being produced, the smelters, the crushers, the storage, all of that works perfectly, and you can see how we've managed to overflow the items using the balancers and then just run the items across the top when we're not using them anymore. This means that we can always pull them back down whenever we want. And I'm really excited to see how this works on a grander scale. So yeah, this is perfect for your starter factories. I haven't gone into too much detail with this in this video because it is our Let's Play, but if you do want me to cover this in a video guide, do let me know in the comments and perhaps we'll do that. Or join in on my Twitch streams, which are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. But guys, we will leave it for this one. I hope you found this video interesting. And if you're wondering what to watch next, why not check out my video on why factory games hook us. Special thanks does go to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our Solarclipse patron, Firefless, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben, and Star, and our Blood Moon of the day, which today is the Southern Husky. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.